This PHP example shows how to create and check an array using the var_dump function. In this code, a variable named fruits is created using the array function. Inside this array, 3 string values are stored: orange, apple, and mango. The array function allows us to keep multiple items inside one variable instead of creating separate variables for each fruit. Each item in the array automatically gets an index number. PHP starts counting from 0, so orange is at index 0, apple is at index 1, and mango is at index 2. These index numbers help you access any value later using fruits. After creating the array, the var_dump fruits statement is used to display detailed information about it. The var_dump function is mainly used for debugging because it not only shows the values inside a variable, but also their data type and size. When this script runs, it prints detailed output on the screen. The output says, array 3. This means fruits contains 3 items. Then, inside curly braces, each element is listed with its index, data type, and value. For example, string 6. Orange means that the first element is a string and it has 6 characters. String 5. Apple shows the second element, which is also a string with 5 characters. String 5. Mango shows the third element, again a string with 5 characters. This detailed result helps developers understand what kind of data is stored in each position of the array. It confirms that all the elements are strings and shows their exact length and value. In simple words, this example teaches that arrays in PHP are used to store multiple values together, and the var_dump function helps us clearly see all those values with their types and sizes. It's an easy and useful way to check and understand your data when writing or testing PHP code. In PHP, by describing the different types of arrays and how to find their length. In PHP, there are 3 main types of arrays: indexed, associative, and multidimensional. An indexed array is the simplest type, where each element is stored with a numeric index that starts from 0. For example, an array of fruits like orange, apple, and mango uses index numbers 0, 1, and 2 to store and access each value. An associative array, on the other hand, uses named keys instead of numbers. This means that each value in the array is associated with a specific name, making the data more readable and easier to manage. For example, you could store information about a person using keys like name, age, and city instead of just numbers. The third type is a multidimensional array, which contains 1 or more arrays inside it. This means that an element of the array can itself be another array. Multidimensional arrays are useful when you need to store complex data, such as tables or lists within lists. The image also explains how to find the number of elements in an array. PHP provides 2 built-in functions for this purpose: count and sizeof. Both functions work the same way. They return the total number of elements or values stored inside an array. For example, if an array contains 3 fruits, using count fruits or sizeof fruits will return the number 3. These functions are very useful when working with dynamic data because they allow you to quickly determine how many items are present in an array, whether it's indexed, associative, or multidimensional. In short, this section highlights the classification of arrays in PHP and explains how you can easily check the length of any array using count or sizeof. How to find the number of elements in an array using PHP. It provides a simple and clear example program called Code Snippet 9. In this code, a PHP array named friends is created using the array function, which contains 3 elements, A, B, and C. These could represent names, letters, or any other values you want to store. After defining the array, the count function is used to calculate how many elements are inside it. The line echo count, friends, prints the total number of items stored in the friends array. When the code runs, the output displayed on the screen is 3, because there are exactly 3 elements in the array. The count function in PHP is one of the simplest and most commonly used functions when working with arrays. It helps programmers quickly determine how many items are present without needing to manually count them. This function works with all types of arrays: indexed, associative, or multidimensional, making it very useful for loops, conditions, or when displaying dynamic data. In this example, the same result could also be achieved by using the sizeof function because both count and sizeof perform the same task in PHP. However, count is more commonly used in practice. The example clearly demonstrates how easily PHP can calculate the total number of elements within an array, helping programmers manage and analyze their data efficiently. In PHP, objects are created from classes, and they represent a way to organize both data and the functions that work with that data in a single structure. In simple words, an object is an instance of a class. A class is like a blueprint or template, and an object is the actual usable version of that blueprint created in memory. A class can contain variables, constants, and functions. The variables inside a class are called properties, and the functions inside a class are called methods. Properties are used to store data or values, while methods define actions or behaviors that an object can perform. Objects in PHP must be declared explicitly, meaning that you have to define a class first and then create an object from it. To define a class in PHP, you use the class keyword followed by the class name. Inside the class, you define the properties and methods enclosed within curly braces. For example, you could write something like class car, sao public color. Function start, echo car started. Here, color is a property, and start is a method. After defining a class, you can create an object from it by using the new keyword, like my car, my new car. This means my car is now an object of the car class, and it can use all the properties and methods defined inside that class. The class name can be any valid identifier in PHP, but it cannot be a reserved word such as if, while, or echo. This makes class naming flexible while maintaining PHP's coding rules. In short, this section explains the foundation of object-oriented programming in PHP. It describes how classes act as templates and objects as their real instances, allowing developers to organize code efficiently by combining data and functionality into reusable structures. The example in Code Snippet 10 defines a class named Color, which contains two functions, one for setting an initial color and another for changing it. Inside the class, the first function, color, sets the variable color name to green and displays it using the echo statement. This function acts like a constructor because it initializes the object with a starting value. When an object of the class is created, this function automatically runs and outputs the text color is green. The second function, change color, updates the color value by assigning the string red to the color name variable. It then displays this updated value using another echo statement that prints updated color is red. The tag in the echo statement ensures that the updated color message appears on the next line when displayed in a web browser. After defining the class, the code creates an object using the line objcolor new color. This tells PHP to create a new instance of the color class, and as soon as it is created, the constructor function automatically executes, showing the initial color. Then the code calls the methods explicitly. The statement objcolor runs the first method again, printing color is green, and the statement objcolor change color runs the second method, printing updated color is red. The final output on the screen shows two lines. The first line displays the initial color as green, and the second line shows that the color has been updated to red. This example helps demonstrate how objects work in PHP and how methods inside a class can be used to control or modify the values stored in an object. It also shows the process of calling class methods using the arrow operator, which connects the object with its functions. Overall, this snippet explains the basic concept of object-oriented programming in PHP in a simple and easy-to-understand way. The null type is used to represent a variable that does not hold any value. In other words, a null variable is one that has been defined but does not contain any data. In PHP, a variable can be assigned the value null or null. Both are acceptable because PHP is not case-sensitive when it comes to the null keyword. If a variable is created without assigning it any value, PHP automatically gives it a null value by default. This means that null is the default state for an uninitialized variable. For example, if you write A without assigning anything to it, PHP will treat A as having a null value. The image also includes code snippet 11, which demonstrates how to declare and check a null value in PHP. In the code, the variable var is explicitly assigned the value null. Then, the function var dump var is used to display information about the variable. When executed, this function shows that var is of the data type null, confirming that it holds no value. The var dump function is especially useful in such cases because it shows not just the value, but also the type of data stored in a variable. The output for this code will clearly display something like null, indicating that var has been declared, but currently contains no actual data. In simple terms, this example teaches that null is used to represent nothing in PHP. It's a way to clear or reset a variable. Null values are often used when a variable is declared, but will receive its actual value later in the program. PHP provides several built-in functions to work with null or empty variables. One of these functions is empty, which checks whether a variable is considered empty or not. The empty function returns true if the variable has no meaningful value. This includes cases where the variable contains an empty string, a null value, the integer 0, or even an array with 0 elements. PHP also provides another function called isNull. This function specifically checks if a variable has the null value and returns true if it does. Both these functions are very useful when writing conditions or validating data, especially when dealing with variables that might not have been initialized yet. In code snippet 12, an example is shown to demonstrate how to use the null value. The script begins by creating a variable lx and assigning it a string value. Hello, Alexa! This means x initially contains text data. Then, the value of ax is changed to null using the statement x as null. At this point, the variable no longer holds any data. It becomes empty. The var dump x function is then used to display information about the variable. Since ax now has a null value, the output will show null, confirming that the variable has been successfully reset and no longer stores the original string. This example clearly demonstrates that assigning a variable the value null effectively clears its content. It is a simple and direct way to reset a variable in PHP. So, if a variable previously contained any data, assigning it null removes that data, making it empty again. This feature is especially helpful in larger programs where variables may need to be cleared or reused without keeping their old values.